Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream. Today, Ron Nicoletti along with Ashley Mayu. We got a new post time for both our Gulfstream Park today and, of course, our post time for the first race. It'll be 1:10 p.m. So we're kicking off about 12:12 this afternoon with a good main track. We had some rain over the last couple of days. Going to dry out. The weather's really nice with that fast main track, Ashley.
You mentioned the track's in better shape now with the rain. You know, it's dried out now, but it's also a little cooler out. I've appreciated that. The last couple of days were a little hot for me, at least, coming from Buffalo. The 90 degrees days were getting to me, so I appreciate the cool front.
Yeah, and I want to tell everybody if I'm a little nasally, got a little bit of a sinus cold this afternoon. Not too bad, but we'll try and get through it today. So don't think I was out drinking like with these red eyes and everything like that. So, just a really good weekend, a week ahead of us, and we got the $200,000 jackpot guarantee. Of course, a little later on, kicks off in race number 4 with a 9-race card. But let's get right into today's card. We got an early pick 5 ticket you wanted to show.
Yes, my lucky number last week was $36. I'm going to keep with it here in leg 1. Here in race 1, I went to 2 horses, the number 4, Cat Lady, and the number 6, Shady Lee. I just think this horse is going to be pretty tough in here. But Cat Lady, I'm a little intrigued by. Going to return to a barn that's had this one in the past. Race 2, I go 3 deep in here. I decided to spread. He's the horse on the rail, the number 1, Kalu, out of the Kent Sweezy barn. Really consistent, hard-knocking horse that I don't know if this one can win, but could score the upset as well. So I wanted to make sure to include this one. I also used the number 3, Game Boy Benny. Last 2 efforts have been really strong, one of which resulted in a win. And then I also used the number 6, Combination, who's going to race first off the claim, and I believe is at 2-1 on the morning line, so not much value there. Race 3, I go 3 deep as well. I thought this was a race to spread. Race 4, I just used 2 horses in here. The number 1, Alonzo Mosley is going to cut back in distance from 1 1/16 to the 7.5, and I think that's going to suit him well based on his most recent race. And then the number 4, Indoctrinate. This one's out of the Cassie barn. Going to slash the claiming price from $50,000 to $25,000 in hopes of graduating today. Finally, the last leg, I used 2 horses in here. Start with the number 8, Wiser. I think this horse is going to be tough, has early foot, and is going to get blinkers on. But the number 2, Nicholas Rose, is a little bit of a long shot, 8-1 morning line. And I think kind of looking at his last couple efforts, he's had efforts that are good enough, I think, to maybe score an upset out of price. So overall, $36.
Well, the first race today will be at 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf. These are fillies and mares, 3 and up, non-winners of 2 in life. 35 down to $25,000. Scratch the number 9 horse in here. And I, too, did go with Cat Lady, who was a reclaim by Fausto Gutierrez. And what a weekend he had last weekend with Letruska, winning the Apple Blossom. So this horse stretches out to the mile and the 16, went up, set the pace, weakened to finish 4th. He's got speed, Kitten's Joy, Edgar Zayas. I think this horse may be able to stretch its speed to the wire.
I agree with you. I think looking at the maiden score, it was scheduled for the turf and moved to the dirt, but this one is able to get to the front pretty early on and draw clear. That was 2 starts back. Was picked out of there by Bill Thoreno's trainer here, who comes down here from Woodbine and then spends his winters down here, always looking for claims. And first time off the bench for that one, off the claim. Good performance, had a bunch of early foot, but just finished 4th in there, beaten by 2 1/4. I think going back to the barn, we always talk about the reclaim angle, always something to consider. Now, she is 0 for 8 over the turf course here, but I think her speed could be to her benefit today.
Well, the number 6, Shady Lee, moved to the Terry Pompey barn after that claim stretches out. Actually rallied to finish 2nd in front of Cat Lady. The way I see the race playing out, if Cat Lady doesn't stretch its speed to the wire, it looks like Shady Lee, who you used on your early pick 5 ticket, will benefit the most from that.
And looking at just Shady Lee, this is a horse that started her career sprinting on the dirt at Saratoga, got the job done, and then they put this one right into Grade 2 competition. And all of those races at Churchill following the Pocahontas, they were all tough fields. You can kind of look at the top 3, top 4 finishers. There's some nice fillies in there. So looking at her last couple races, she had a good dirt race here 2 back. But for a first attempt on the turf last time out, I thought it was a huge effort. Yes, she was favored, but she closed from off the pace to finish 2nd, beaten by a length and a half. And I think now just making that 2nd start on the turf, she could improve.
I like the chances maybe of Cat's a Dream, the 3, bred on both sides of the family tree to really relish the turf. Daughter of Tisnow stretches out to 8.5 on the grass. At first start, she finished 3rd against those 35-2 lifetime claim is going 6 on the dirt. Ralph Nix, Joe Bravo having a good spring meet here, handling the surface switch. Just a breeding play for me.
I think you have to go with the, you mentioned the breeding. I mean, looking at Ralph Nix as far as first turf, maybe not the strongest numbers, just 1 for 31, but the breeding's there. Thought the effort last time out, that was all the way back in February, but it was still a nice third. Twirling Faith, the winner, came back to win out. We've already talked about Shady Lee, the runner up there. So I agree with you, and I think this horse is certainly going to be a little bit colder on the tote board than the other two that we talked about.
Well, let's go to race number 2, a 6 furlong starter optional claimant, 4 and up, started for a $6,250 or less, or the optional claiming price of $12,500. No scratches in the race. Kicks off the first of 2 pick 4s. I did go with the 6 combination, who's moving to the Louis Ramirez barn after the claim, looking to sit the trip. I just see so much speed in here, Ashley. Paco Lopez guides the 7-time local winner. It's all about the speed, and this one coming from off the pace today.
Yeah, that was kind of my logic too. Between besides this horse using Game Boy Benny, I think there is a ton of speed. It's going to set up for these runners. Combination was just claimed last time out of a very good barn, Saffie Joseph Jr. barn, and joins a barn that does fairly well off the claim as well. And there's something I do want to show here as a trainer stat for the trainer of the number 6 combination, Luis Ramirez. He's 5 for 23 with horses first off the claim, specifically here at Gulfstream Park over the last 5 years. So that's 22%. As far as in the money, 39%, and a pretty nice ROI of 340. So I understand the likes of this horse. I think the price will be short, though. And looking at the horse that beat this one last time out, Northern, who's also in this spot to the inside, that's a speed horse, and to see this one get that nice trip last time out just off the speed, to me, gives this horse a big shot in here, but I had to go in a different direction. I used Game Boy Betty, who I see you use underneath Ron.
Yeah, they stretch out to the 3/4, use its tactical speed to defeat those 12-5 state bred ups claimers. I like the work that Charles Weinbaum does.
Just looking at this horse here and at the distance may not be the best thing, but this horse is another one. Kind of like most of the horses in the field, they've done very well at Gulfstream Park. I just thought the win last time out, it was going 5.5, so going to return to the 6 furlongs was just very, very impressive. Drew off by 4. Prior to that was second, beaten by a neck. So those last 2 efforts, this one has certainly gotten into form, and for me, I made this one my top pick.
And you mentioned Kalu when you were putting your early pick 5 ticket together. Depart from the rail duel throughout, finished second, was beaten half length. It's a horse that maybe doesn't win it, but it's hard to leave this one off the ticket. I would have done the same exact thing with my early pick 5 ticket using Kalu on there.
I think if I left him off, he probably would win in that case. So I used him. He's never finished worse than second here over the main track. I think his only bad effort recently was 2 back, and it was on the turf. But to finish 9th, beaten by a length and 3/4, you can just see the consistency from this horse. And I did think the effort last time out, I thought he wasn't going to hang in there, but he was able to hang in for second. So he's pretty game in the stretch.
Let's go to race 3. We're on the main track, 6 furlongs. Claim is 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life. $6,250. No scratches in here. You did go with the number 5 Amit, who's dropping to this level. I just thought this horse 80-1 last time out. Ran well, but I thought it was sort of a shaky proposition, so I used it a little further down on my ticket.
I think it could be one of those things where maybe he'll run, last in the field, but I thought it was a big improvement. He had to really rally from wide out on the track. He missed by 2 lengths. But looking at his other races, he's always kind of been against tougher since breaking his maiden. So that's why I didn't read too much into the 80-1. I don't know. Maybe in my head I cut it down to 40-1, but I just think he might have had some excuses. He obviously had some time off, and now he's second time off the layoff. I'm going to use them on top, but we'll see if I'm right or wrong, Ron.
Yeah, well, you have the logical 3, I think. We have the logical 4, just mix max there. I went with the 7, This Dude's No Fool, stretching out to the 3/4. After responding to the drop down to this level with a 3rd place finish going 5.5, it's Carlos David. Claimed him for 12.5 2 starts back, so that's a little bit of a red flag there. Angel Arroyo named to ride this afternoon, so this Dude's No Fool, and I think it's a logical one you got in second. And what do you think about the number 3, Captured by Fate?
Captured by Fate was a horse that last time out disappointed me, and I'm sure disappointed you in some regards, because this one was coming out of a race at Tampa that was pretty strong, and even the race here locally before that off the layoff was another strong 2nd place finish. Took a lot of money last time out, was kind of set to the front, and just kind of tired in the stretch. I mean, there wasn't much to take away from it, I should say. They've gelded this horse since that effort, but I had reservations. That's why I used this one a little further down, just because I would have expected more last time out, and from a buyer perspective, the buyers did drop drastically.
Well, we're going to take a short break. Come back, we'll show you my Rainbow 6 ticket, and I maybe can get back into this thing here with this little bit of a cold today.
second in the two path. Round first inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. It's last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Welcome back, Gulfstream. Today, Ron and Ashley. Race 4, about 7 1/2 on the turf. Maiden claim is 3 and up. $25,000. Do have a scratch of the number 5 in here. And then you got lucky with $36. I was fooling around with other prices. I'm going back to $43 today. And see if we can get it. We got that $200,000 jackpot guarantee. Did go too deep in here. I think the same 2 horses you might have used in your early pick 5 ticket with Alonzo Mosley and Indoctrinate. And in race number 5, 8 Wiser, I just think is the outside speed in there. Also used Moon Pistol on the ticket. And then too deep again with Royal Habibi and Crafty Glass. And then I think the card gets a little more interesting. Got some stats. We got some videos we want to show you. And I went 3 deep in those races, race 7, 8, and number 9. And I just thought that maybe these horses, and in race number 8, I got my long shot today, which is the 3 Forever Mo, 15 to 1 on the morning line, has beaten this level of competition it's going to face today. But we'll talk about that race in a bit. Getting back to this 4th race, as I mentioned at the top, about 7 1/2 furlongs. These are maiden claim is 3 and up, $25,000. The scratch of the 5 in here. Alonzo Mosley's cutting back to the 7 1/2 today. Surrendered that late lead to finish second. Was only beaten a length. It was a mile in the 16th. It's Joe Orsino and Paco Lopez.
You hit all my spark notes on here, all my big notes here. I mean, the cutback I think is key. This one was kind of battling it out early on, all the way around the track, and just was second best. Paco's staying aboard, now making the second start for Joe Orsino. Just loved what I saw last time out. Yes, this one was favored, so we expected a big performance, but the cutback I think is what this one needs today.
Well, the number 4, Indoctrinate, you don't know really what you're going to get here. Has its claiming tag sliced in half after hitting the board in 2 of 3 recent turf outings at the $50,000 level from Mark Cassie, Miguel Vasquez. It's a $90,000 Son of Exaggerator. If you just look at the numbers, you would think this horse fits nicely in this spot.
Fits beautifully. I mean, to me, it was just between these 2. After that, I thought it was wide open. Indoctrinate. My issue is just the most recent performance. I wasn't blown away. Now, the winner, Blue Lou Boyle, I know we both loved in that spot, was a stablemate of this one and ran a pretty big race as to be expected, but it just fell a little flat. I would have expected a little bit more, maybe, closing a little late, and this one fell flat. But looking at the other 2 efforts, I think replicating those, this one has early foot. I'm not sure what's going to happen early on, knowing Alonzo Mosley has early foot. These 2 could maybe lock up because I have to think the horse off the rail goes, but another logical play.
Number 7, City Magic, is another drop into this 25 level today. Stepped up off the claim by Mike Maker and finished 3rd from a tough post. It was post 10 last time out against those 35 maidens going a mile. They just have so many horses in their stables all over the country. They can hit you in all different angles. I think this horse deserves to be somewhere on the ticket, ridden today by Edgar Zayas, who's our leading rider.
Decided to use this one underneath just based off the most recent performance, stepping up. I thought it was a fair effort going against a little tougher competition, even in the end, but finished 3rd in a big field. And you mentioned now going back a little bit in claiming price from that 35 to 25. Edgar Zayas in the saddle does well for Mike Maker. They went at 27% here at Gulfstream Park. So for me, I use this one in the same spot as you, Ron. We have that cold try once again.
Yeah, cold try once again there. Race number 5, 6 furlong sprint. Claim is 4 and up, $6,250. I believe this is the only race of the whole day with multiple scratches, except for also eligibles in the last. So scratch the 3 and 7. 7 was one of the horses full and smooth. I did have on my ticket, but didn't change my top ticket. I just think the 8 is turning back to 3/4. Adding the blinkers, center pressured pace, faded to finish 5th. It's a favorite going 6 1/2. You got a strong gate rider in MCL Jaramillo. I think the outside post is going to be beneficial. You
mentioned 6 1/2 the last couple efforts, now cutting back to 6. The blinkers on, has early foot, has everything kind of going for him. But I will say, we know how hard it is at the 6250 level to win in general. And I think for him, I actually think he's vulnerable in a lot of ways. I mean, he could win, and he could win easy. If you look at that effort 3 back, if he can do that again, he beat a good horse I've already mentioned today, Northern, who came back to win next time out. But I wasn't 100% sold on him, Ron, and I can see from here, we're kind of all over the place with the same 3 horses.
Yeah, and number 1, Moon Pistol for me in second, cutting back to his, this distance, rallied to finish second in front of the top choice when they hooked up at 6 1/2, the distance we were talking about for Ernest Ochoa. You got the apprentice, Ganael Martinez. But I, like you, have some interest in a little bit of a shot in here with Nicholas Rose, and I think we would have got a better price if there wasn't the 2 scratches in this race.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get 8-1 anymore. I thought I was being wise earlier on. But last time out, faced the state bred level. It was against kind of tougher competition and didn't fare well, didn't take any respect. But to me, the race 2 back puts this one right in the mix from a number standpoint, is going to sit off the pace. And, you know, we talked about the pace in here. There's not a whole lot of it. The pace is going to go to the outside. But I still thought Nicholas Rose, if he's on his best game, he can still close from off the pace and at least get a share.
And I like to, I know anybody's going to keep Dr. Harlan, even though this horse is still trying to turn things around this year with 5 starts and only that 1/3. This horse has beaten me so many times I can't even tell you. So, and you're absolutely right. These 6,250 open claimers in South Florida are some tough races, and they're awful tough to handicap. So if you can spread there, unless you think the outside horse like Ashley and I think is going to have that tactical ability, we'll see how that plays out. We're going to go to race number 6 this afternoon, and this one is a 5-furlong turf event. Claimers, fillies, and mares, 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life. Nice field of 9 in the field. And, you know, this kicks off our late pick 5 of the afternoon. I went to the inside with Royal Habibi, who's changing barns, going to the Sappy Joseph Jr. barn after the claim, and stumbles to this level today. You know, I call this the Calabrese drop. Frank Calabrese, the owner, loves to drop horses. Let's go back and revisit this horse's last race when it was the number 2. Talking about Royal Habibi, you're just going to see at the start. Gets way shuffled back. The number 2, as I mentioned this afternoon, just gets, you know, one of those trips where you get shuffled back. You sort of got to carve out your trip now, and if you kept it back, just stayed basically back there, and then makes this nice move, turn it for home. It has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 wide there, and comes running fast. So when you're changing barns to our leading trainer, I think there's a lot to like with Royal Habibi.
You mentioned getting pinched at the start and just being kind of, I don't know, going to the candy shop in the corner and then making his way over. It was a troubled trip, and just to miss by a neck. Loved it. He was a price that day, now getting first-time Lasix. And we've mentioned she's going to a big barn. And when I was constructing the late pick 4 here, this is a horse that I had to use on my ticket. I do think she's going to be tough in here. I went to a couple other horses as well that I'll touch upon real quick. I used the number 4, Cookie Cove, who I know you have some interest in as well. Then I used the 8, Crafty Lass, who we haven't seen in quite a while, since the summer at Monmouth Park for Jane Sibeli, but this horse I think could be sneaky in this spot. Then in the next leg, I went too deep in here. Bimini, the 2, 7-5 morning line. I mean, really has done everything right in her last 3 starts, but I actually elevate the number 6, Time to 2-step over her. I think this one could kind of score the upset. Then in race 8, I went 3 deep here. I know you spread in this race. I think race 8 is a great race to watch, a great betting race, wide open, and some really nice horses in there on the turf. And then finally, we always end, it seems like, with these maidens on the grass in general. And I always spread in these races. I like the first-time starter, though. The number 3, Mama J's my top pick. This is a first-time starter out of the Ron Spatz barn, who's been off to a great start so far this meet.
Yeah, I'm going to correct myself. I said this was the late pick 5. It's the late pick 4. These 9 race cards, 10 race, 11, 12. Tough for an old guy like me to keep up with this stuff. So getting back on Royal Habibi for the reasons we just mentioned. And I just thought the big drop with this top arm. But what did you use in second? You went with Cookie Cove in second.
Went with Cookie Cove just last time out in for that $16,000 tag, going today's distance over the turf. She was on the dirt for a while. She finally got back on the grass, and it was a game second behind Yellen. And I know this race was affected by some scratches in there. Yellen scored the upset in that event, but beat a couple other runners in here. Those in for the $16,000. I just liked her in this spot, and look at her record. I mean, I feel like second is where she likes to finish, Ron.
Well, she figures on the what have you done lately angle. Royal Habibi, that race we just showed you, don't forget, was back in December. Now coming back for a good barn and dropping down. So there's always a little bit of a worry there. Same thing with Crafty Lass, who's debuting locally on the grass. The first start since finishing that track the pace, 3rd against those 25 claimers. It was last August, but Jane Sibeli's good with this type of layoff.
And she's good with turf sprints in general, wins at 22%. The layoff is a little concern of mine just in general. Looking at some of these other horses are a little bit more fresh, but she's been in some tough races, and to be honest, I know she's got a couple of them where she's finished off the board, but I still don't think they're bad efforts. She showed speed on the dirt in her first 3 starts and her first turf effort, which we mentioned all the way back in August. She tried to sit off of it, and she just finished finished third in the end. I think a couple others had more than she did left late, but I had to use her in this spot as well.
Well, we always had the same super here. We haven't had a cold super yet today, and the 9-Zipper Jess is a logical contender, I think, to be somewhere on the ticket. Going to race number 7, a mile allowance optional claimer, state bred, fillies and mares 4 and up. The optional claiming price, $12,500. You went with the number 6, Time to Two-Step, who's making the 3rd start of her current form cycle. Should we go? We'll go back and show you that, this horse's last race. We're going to pick it up just before the 8th hole when she closes. And you can see she's the number 3 this day. And, boy, Pete almost tried to call this race at the end, but he knew better. It was just so close. I couldn't believe. I would have called this horse the winner, but when it came, the smoke cleared. The other horse held on by a nose. Look at that finish right there. So very close for Time to Two-Step.
You can see she's kind of a grinder. I think it takes her a while to hit her best stride, and had she done it maybe a jump before she did, probably would have got the job done. And you mentioned Pete, wanted to call it but couldn't. It was a blanket finish kind of in the end. It was a big performance from her, and just looking at some of her efforts, I think one of the things I struggle with her, sometimes she's inconsistent, but she's just now making her 3rd start since September. So I think part of it is she needed some time off, and she's at a level now that she can kind of hang with the other fillies and mares. So I used her on top.
Yeah, and Paco Lopez, Peter Walder do an excellent job. They ride a lot together, like 21% winning percentage. That's basically his go-to rider. And number 2, Bimini, or Bimini, whatever it is stretching out to one of her most accomplished distances. She's had 8 races at this distance with 3 wins in 2 seconds. Drew clear to defeat this level of competition, going 6.5. The distance is not a problem. Gilberto Zerpa, Edgar Zayas going for 2 in a row. I just think these are the logical 2 in here.
I think they're the logical 2. I think we always talk about it, these, 12.5, 62.50. It is hard to win 2 races in a row, and I thought her win last time out was pretty strong in the end. I mean, she was clear. No one else is going to catch her. I struggled. I just know she's going to be a short price, and I do think the number 6 can turn the tables and get the job done today. But she's had some big races here at Gulfstream Park, too. I mentioned the most recent, but if you go down 3 starts back, she was a dominant winner. Yes, it was less competition. So I think these are the main 2 mares to be worried about.
The number 1, Just Saying, is 2 for 4 on the dirt and going back to the main track today after finishing a trouble fifth behind a horse I really think is a hard knocker on the turf, and that's Adorable Aida. This one is a 16 claimer going a mile and a 16 for Carlos David. Miguel Vasquez handling the surface switch this afternoon.
Mentioned the surface switch. Carlos David, he only wins at 10% from 39 runners, turf to dirt. We mentioned she does have 2 wins. My concern with the wins, and that's why I used her, in the same spot as you, but I don't think she's really in the same league as the other 2, is that one win was a 3-horse field. She won by a lap, but it was a short field because it was scheduled for the turf, a move to the dirt. So I'm excited to see her against some more accomplished fillies and mares on the dirt to really see what she's capable of.
Well, let's go to race number 8, about 7.5 on the turf, an allowance optional claimer, 4-year-olds and up. Want to go back and show you High Noon, Forever, High Noon riders in the race too, Forever Mo. This is 2 starts back. It's finished from, I thought it was a good race. You're going to see Forever Mo is the 3, High Noon rider. They're all in this race today. And number 5, Morocco, was the 6-5 favorite that day, and I just thought Forever Mo ran very well. Then they thought so much of this horse, they put this horse in a grade 3 Appleton next time out. So 15-1 on the morning line has beaten this level of competition in the past. I thought maybe he had a shot this afternoon.
You mentioned the Appleton. The other thing to note, no Lasix in the Appleton with it being a graded stakes race. This horse is going to get Lasix once again. Obviously, I don't know kind of if this horse really needs Lasix, but it was a game changer last time out and finished 6th in there. Only beat 2 horses. I know the winner, Grace Babel, was able to take them gate to wire. Now this horse is getting back in for a tag of 62.50. I debated using this horse. For me, it became a battle between this one and High Noon Rider, but I understand your selection, and I also like to see you picking a price on top.
Yeah, and Morocco is the horse that you do have on top, was one of the horses that didn't fare that well as the 6-5 favorite. Now, that was 2 starts back with Forever Mo, getting a bit of a price. So tell me about Morocco today.
Well, Morocco was on a win streak for a little bit. This horse had been kind of traveling all over the place when in the Mike Maker barn. We saw this one in Kentucky, last year here at Gulfstream Park, but then spent a little time in New York. And looking at the effort in New York, finished 3rd, and then this horse got back here and won 2 races in a row. They were big performances. Now you're thinking this one is trying to win 3 in a row. Not the best. I mean, finished like you mentioned. This one was 6-5 and was trying to split horses in between. It didn't fare well, but We already know this horse has been claimed out of there. Joins Saffie Joseph Jr. He wins at a quarter of the time off the claim. To me, this was a huge thing. And the rider today, Diaz, is getting in the saddle. Doesn't necessarily ride for Saffie all the time, but they still do quite well together.
Yeah, so we'll see. And another horse that you have both have in second is Chuck Willish, the Irish bred, is a gelded son of Kodiak, who hasn't tried the grass since 2018, is debuting locally after crushing the competition when sprinting on the synthetic tappeta surface up at Woodbine last summer from Marcassi. He's been burning up the track up in Palm Meadows on the turf in preparation for this race.
You mentioned the workouts at Palm Meadows, and he was burning up on the tappeta up at Woodbine. I mean, he was basically taking them gate to wire and drawing clear and kind of crushing those fields. And the runner-up last time out, Walkabout Creek, he's a nice horse as well. So my concern with him, and I think that's why we use this horse for maybe second. It's been a while. It's been a bit of a layoff. Now it's going to get on the turf for the first time in a while. But look at some of those workouts. 59 flat. I know that was back in March, but even more recently on the dirt, 46-4. I think this horse is ready to get back to the races.
And you're exactly right. I looked down. I didn't think this horse would be the morning line favorite just because of the fact that this horse hasn't been on the turf in so long. But I can understand this horse probably going off as the favorite. Number 2, Blameless, goes to the Mike Maker barn after the claim, cuts back to 7.5. Proved no match for that repeat winner Sayaf going a mile, and that was at the $62,500 level. This gelding is usually consistent. He's got Paco trying to get back to that competitive ways. Doesn't look like he's been faring well lately.
Last time out, it was a head scratcher. I liked this horse kind of underneath, but he sat the same trip that he sat in other races and had nothing left late. Now, he is going to switch barns. Maybe that'll get him back on track. But when you look at those races in late January and February, they're two decent efforts. One resulted in a win. Then he was second behind Sayaf, just beaten by 3/4 of a length. So I'm not sure what to make out of the most recent race because it was certainly a clunker compared to some of his others. So I did use him underneath just because he's fit well at this level in the past. But we'll see what the new barn can do with him.
Well, let's go to the 9th race this afternoon. 5 furlongs on the turf. Maiden claim is fillies and mares. 3-year-olds and up 16,000. As I mentioned, we scratch all the alsos out of here. 13-16. Not a lot of scratches on the card. We're dealing with that good turf course today. 5 furlong sprint. Let's hear about the first time starter because I really respect the connections. I used this one a little further down.
My big thing was the connections, and it's maiden $16,000 claimers on the grass. So I want to show a trainer stat real quick for the trainer of the number 3, Mama J. Ron Spatz has this horse, and he's been off to a roll here at the spring-summer meet. But I wanted to look specifically here at Gulfstream. How does he do with first-time starters sprinting? And that's over both surfaces. But, that's what we're going to see here. And a lot of these horses that he would have first-time starters, they might start sprinting. 10 for 48 as far as wins are concerned, 21%. 18 for 48 in the money, so 38% with a 242 ROI. We mentioned Spatz is off to a good start. He had a firster win here, I believe, last week out of the 7-hole in one of the earlier races. A pretty big performance. So he's able to get these horses off the bench right away. They can graduate at the first start. And looking at the workouts, this horse has had some sharp, 3 furlong workouts. But I thought the most recent breeze here at Gulfstream Park, 48 flat, the third fastest of 31 was good. Chantel's going to climb aboard, and she doesn't typically ride for Ron, but she's been doing well here so far at this meet too. So I decided to take a stand, kind of looking at some of the other horses in here. No one jumped out at me other than that, so I liked Mama J.
Yeah, I did go with the horse you have in second on top. T. Walters dropping to the 16 level, which was the allure. Bumped at the start prior to finishing 4th against 25 maidens for Ralph Nix. Embassy El Jaramillo handling the drop down. You're right, it's nothing that was going to scare anyone away. Maybe the 5 Chips and Salsa getting some class relief today from Marcassi.
I think if you like T-Waltz, you have to use Chips and Salsa because they're both exiting those 5 furlong turf events well in for the $25,000 tag. So they're both staying at the track, as far as the distance and the surface, but they're taking that slash in the claiming price. And for me, I struggled between them, but I agree with you. I think T-Waltz was a little bit better considering it was her first turf effort. She was first time on the turf, only her second career start, and she didn't show too much late, but she still had a good performance. She finished 4th, beaten by 3.5, where I think looking at Chips and Salsa, got up for 3rd, but really wasn't closing the gap in those final jumps.
Just want to show you this horse, the 7 wrongfully accused. This one 30-1 on the morning line. Just going to show you early on in the race, and you're going to see this horse is the number 10 that day. And you're going to see this horse going into the first turn. And just the day is over. Right here, you're going to see very shortly. Just over. It doesn't run well afterwards. A big price. It's Antonio Sano. This race, as we've mentioned a couple of times, is wide open. I didn't show anything else after that. I'm thinking maybe sneakily for the Trier Super, a horse like this that just was eliminated at the start for good connections, with the apprentice atop. I just think maybe this horse can grab part of that Trier Super.
You're getting a little relief in the weight. You mentioned 7-pound bug, Gadiel Martinez. You mentioned Antonio Sano. I think that's a huge angle. He does well with maiden second time out. He wins at 14%. But I always feel it's like the sneaky horses with him. Like this one's a little sneaky. Went off at 41-1 last time. I don't think we're going to get 30-1 on the morning line, but she's a little sneaky. You don't really know what's there because she didn't really have the opportunity to show anything last time.
Well, that's how we see the 9-race card this afternoon with the Fastlane track. Please note that the turf course is listed as good, but we got a beautiful day here in South Florida. With that said, we'll flip over, and it is now time for our lightning round. And as we do each and every Thursday, we're going to start with the quick look at the standings. We'll start with the jockeys first and then just see Edgar Zayas, 19. Paco making a good run with 17. Edwin Gonzalez, who had a little bit of a forced vacation. He's got 15. MSCL 12 and Angel Rodriguez. And Edwin Gonzalez doing a good job for his first time down here.
Yeah, it's a close race. Overall, looking at that, you mentioned maybe some riders had to serve some days, not willingly or wanting to do so. But a couple of these riders, they've had some multiple win days, not just 2, 3 or 4 day wins. And I know Paco had a huge weekend here last Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, he's just an excellent rider. And Paco's one of those guys, tough to get a price with him during the spring here in South Florida. Let's take out the trainers. We know who the leading trainer is right now, and it's still Safi with 11 wins. Antonio, there he is, back in 5. Joe with 4, Kelsey Danner, everybody else underneath Snappy. But we'll see how this plays out. Got a long way to go for the spring and summer meeting.
Looking at the trainers, Kelsey Danner, she had a 2-win day here over the weekend, and her barn's been doing really well. I've been giving them some extra consideration because she just seems to be firing on all cylinders. But you mentioned Safi. He's been kind of leading the pack. I believe he had a 4-win day not too long ago. His horses just have been doing a tremendous job.
Well, and Todd there in 3. He's got a bunch of horses in on Saturday. Todd, this is not his time of the year. He's the perennial leading rider in the during the championship season. We're going to go to the next thing here, and it's our boss, Aiden Butler, boy, and deservedly so. He got the winner of the 2020 Ed Friendly Industry Service Award. He basically got racing going back there in California.
Yeah, you mentioned all the great work he did out of California, now being the COO of First, all the First tracks and everything there. It's huge. And this award, I kind of looked at the winners of this, is for outstanding service and contributions to the industry as a whole. And you see some big names, Jerry and Ann Moss, Bob and Beverly Lewis, Miss Siegel, a huge, award that's really prestigious. And it's our boss, so it's really cool to share.
I know you're a big Trotter fan, and we had a trainer here the other day, Phil Antonacci, who's the son of prominent trainer Frank Antonucci of Lindy Farms, and here he is. It's unbelievable. He wins his first race here in South Florida. They are known for harness racing, and he gets his first win. He's got a really good story. It's on our Gulfstream Park website, written by Ed Gray.
You mentioned the harness racing. I mean, that's huge. We don't see that all the time when, the connections decide to dabble in both standardbreds and thoroughbreds, but I think it's awesome. Mentioned Van's Strategy got him his first win. I think Paco's 4th win on the card this past weekend. But Lindy Farms, they're no stranger to success. They've been connected to 5 Hambletonian winners as far as ownership goes. So now they're kind of dabbling in both breeds.
Hey, our sister track out there in California, not Southern California, Northern California's got their big weekend coming up, and that's Gold Rush Weekend at Golden Gate Fields, and they got a $200,000 guaranteed late pick 4. So when you're looking to bet something good on Saturday, you go with the Gold Rush Festival at Golden Gate Fields.
Yeah, and you mentioned Gold Rush weekends. There's 8 stakes races over the 2 days. I think the big race is the Grade 3 San Francisco Mile. So a lot of action. I'll definitely be looking into it this weekend.
Yeah, so that'll be part of the weekend. We got lots going on this afternoon. I'll be back throughout the day. Once again, thanks, Ashley, for all your help this morning. And we're going to give out a lot of winners this afternoon. I'm pretty positive about it.
I hope so, Ron. Good luck.